All right, everybody. I just thought it would be a good idea, since we're missing class, to talk a little bit about some of the best writing I've seen over the last two assignments, both what makes it good and how to make it even better. So today we're going to look at the best sensory perception essay that I read. So to start off, this mystery student here wrote on the quote, the Chinese quote, "Things that we hear from others are not trustable. Things that we see by our own eyes are real." So let's start off. I thought this was a very, very good essay because, for the first reason, it brings the quote into the TOK world very, very quickly. The first thing I want you to do is pause this recording right now and read the first paragraph here. Go ahead and do that now. All right, so check out how this starts, because it's really quite good. We know that we're in a TOK essay because the first thing it says is, "in TOK terms." And it brings the quote into TOK terms very, very quickly. We have language as a way of knowing here, and we have sensory perception. This is really good. We're immediately seeing the linkage from the quote into the TOK world. Things we hear is language, we see by our own eyes is sensory perception, and what we have is the key thing that's being compared here. It's about trust. We can't trust what we hear. We can trust what we see. So right away, from the very first sentence in this essay, we're in TOK. I know that we're comparing language and sensory perceptions as ways of knowing, and I know that we're going to compare them by talking about levels of trust. This is really good because we have a clear overriding TOK idea that this whole essay sticks to. Now, in terms of the intro, to make this even better, I think it's a little bit too long. Remember, the purpose of the introduction is just to bring the prompt into the TOK world. There's a lot of details here that are correct, but might be better in a body paragraph. Here, language is not particularly trustable. It's inconsistent with the truth, since it's affected by the people who say it and the people who hear it. This is a good point, but it's a little bit too repetitive. They have different mindsets. That's kind of really the same thing. We have a difference. We have inconsistent with the truth rather than trustable. We can repeat the word trustable here. Instead of saying inconsistent with the truth, instead, if we say not trustable, it's a lot clearer because our vocabulary is now more consistent. The other thing that I think that could make this a little bit better, check out just the size of it. From here to here is all about language and why language is not trustable. Whereas this part is about sensory perception. Now, just look at the size of those two lines I drew. This one is about 2 times longer. But the quote, these two parts are equally important. So, for some of you, I talked about your writing being unbalanced. And this is what I'm talking about here. when the quote has two parts, you need to take each of those parts equally. This one spends a little bit too much time on the first half of the prompt, and therefore the second half of the prompt looks a little bit ignored. It's not ignored, it's there, but it seems weaker because it's shorter. All right, so this introduction is actually really quite good because it does very clearly identify the TOK. It identifies a good singular TOK point, trust, that they want to bring out in comparison of two things. So let's see how this student develops it further. Take another minute or two, pause the video, and check out the second paragraph. Go ahead and do that now. Okay, so again, let's see what I like about this one. I love the topic sentence. This idea, we're not changing the idea. This student stuck with this one singular idea they have. This is very, very important that one essay explores one idea deeply. And I know this student is going to do that because they've organized their ideas very, very well with these topic sentences. What about this idea? We're going to talk about it in the natural sciences. And the natural sciences agree with this prompt. This is cool. We've identified a perspective. The perspective is natural sciences. We see how that perspective exists in terms of the prompt. It agrees. Okay. So as we get into this, there are some really, really good details. Here, we're talking about raw information and experiments, observations by ourselves. It can't be fake. This is all really, really good information. And it comes down and makes a strong point. Therefore, sensory perception as a way of knowing is very reliable. Again, go back up. The word here at the very beginning you chose is trustable. The word here in the very beginning is trustable. Here we've got a little change into reliable or hard, difficult to fake. To make this even stronger, bring in this idea of trust. Bring in this word, trust, instead, to unify the vocabulary. Remember, TOK is not TOEFL, it is not SAT. You are not getting points for your range of vocabulary. You're getting points for your analysis, your evaluation. So your clarity is more important than the beauty of your writing. Reuse your vocabulary, reuse your key terms to keep the singular thread through the writing. Next up, we've got a good transition word, however. And now we're looking at it from the other side. We're getting over to language instead of sensory perception. This is an interesting idea. We're not getting the direct information. This can come out a little bit more strongly. It's a fantastic idea. Why is sensory perception more direct than language? So this is a great idea that needs to be unpacked a little bit more. This is really at the heart of why the natural sciences trust sensory perception more than language. And this example, Mendel's law of segregation, we can actually do the experiment. Now, the one thing that strikes me that would make this so much stronger is the end. However, if someone tells a completely wrong story, well, of course we can't trust language if people just lie to us. But this is called a straw man argument. And a straw man argument is when you create a weak argument that's easy to beat. So sure, You have defeated the weak argument in this essay. But how can we make it even stronger? If we can defeat a strong argument, then that will really prove the point well. So in this case, instead of looking at the weaker side of the argument, look at the stronger side. What if somebody tells a good story? Or somebody tells the good information? Here, we're using language as a way of knowing. We're transmitting accurate knowledge through language. But still, for natural sciences, observation is stronger. Why? If you can answer this question in this essay, then the point becomes even stronger than it is now. It's a good point now, but it's not written in the strongest form possible. All right, so I think this is a good start. We've got a good introduction. We got a good body paragraph. We can see the connection between the two is very strong because we have an excellent, strong, direct statement of TOK at the start. This student was brave enough to come up with one singular idea rather than trying to list 100. And this student follows that idea through very strongly. We know they follow this idea through strongly because they keep repeating these two WOKs, they keep talking about trust, and their topic sentences. It's strong under the scope of natural sciences. This idea is not strong for language arts. Okay. Really clear statements of intention for every topic sentence that directly relate back to the main idea. This is really good style. This is really good organization. The one thing that we can really all take away from this is to unify our vocabulary. The ideas here are really good. They will connect together even more strongly if we keep repeating the keywords. You choose a keyword, trust. This is what you're going to investigate. Then talk about trust, trust, trust in the whole essay. All right, so I hope this was a useful thing for you to see a good piece of your classmates' writing, to hear me talk about what I see when I read a piece of writing like this. And I hope this can both give you a good model to follow and give you some hints for improvement in the future. Thank you very much. Merry Christmas.